they've been all working on this. Everybody from Goldman Sachs to JP Morgan to BlackRock to Apollo to, I mean, you name it, they're all involved. Obviously, Fidelity have been pioneers, Franklin Templeton have been pioneers. So they're all ready. And it seems that it has been decided that, I think Gary Gensler, to take some political heat, has said, fine, I'll approve a Bitcoin spot ETF. And I think, BlackRock being the benchmark name to come into it has helped tremendously. And I think we'll get an ETH spot ETF as well. And that also helps because that's going to bring in the RIA networks and others, give them something they understand, which is an equity that they can put into a regular portfolio.
The first 10 years of cryptocurrency adoption were led by retail investors from all over the world, who were impressively able to take the industry from the early days of mining in dark basements and exchanging Bitcoin for pizzas to becoming a trillion-dollar asset class. But there is only as much development and adoption that can come from just retail investors, which is why there's been a lot of buzz about the coming of institutions even before Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy started buying Bitcoin in August 2020. Everyone thought 2022 was going to mark the beginning of mass institutional adoption, but that didn't happen because of gloomy global macro conditions. However, Real Vision Chief Executive Officer Raoul believes 2024 will be that year. According to the popular macro analyst and former Goldman Sachs executive, institutional investors, from pension funds to money managers and hedge funds, have been preparing to enter the cryptocurrency industry for months or even years in some cases. However, they've been held down by the gloomy economic situation in the United States. Powell believes all of that is about to change in 2024. He expects a major Fed pivot in 2024, followed by months of quantitative easing to boost the United States economy and markets. Naturally, other central banks will follow suit. When that happens, Powell explains that all of the institutions currently waiting on the sidelines will be more than happy to invest in various cryptocurrencies and crypto-related firms. During a recent discussion with the Thinking Crypto channel, Powell discussed his outlook on the overall cryptocurrency industry, especially as we draw closer to what he believes will be a huge bull market for crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ether, and Solana. According to Powell, it's now a given that the SEC will approve at least one spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, probably before the year ends. This is another strong reason to believe that the institutions are definitely coming because a spot ETF will make it much easier for them to invest in cryptocurrencies. Powell is predicting a 5 to 10x growth in the overall cryptocurrency market cap and some pretty bullish moves in assets like Bitcoin, Ether, and Solana. As we bring you clips from the interview, please ensure you watch the video to the end so you don't miss any important information. Also, ensure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and turn on the notifications for more videos like this. Thanks and enjoy the video.
So I think it probably gets approved this year, but I don't know. I have no edge in that. And it's really a matter of price, right? If you'd have launched a Bitcoin ETF in October of last year, you would have had 0 buyers.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of price. So the moment the narrative starts picking up and the liquidity comes back and people have got some money to invest again, look, nobody's got any money right now. Everybody's skint. Everyone's had a tough time. It's got no recycled gains because everything's below all-time highs. But once that starts happening, money will flow in. So let's assume January happens. Well, usually by this stage in the crypto markets, we should start hitting crypto summer by summer of next year, from sometime after about April. And I think that means that now the channel is open and people can take money in. So as you rightly say, there's a lag because the markets aren't, the market narrative isn't ready to bring in billions and billions of dollars. But if crypto does its crypto thing, and by kind of Q2, Q3 of 2024, the markets are starting to rip, interest rates are coming down, liquidity's in the system, people are making money. Oh yeah, we'll see, tens of billions of dollars coming into this. Bitcoin did 3x its previous all-time high in the last cycle. Does it do that? Somewhat less because, as you get more maturity, maybe it does less. ETH, well, maybe ETH does 3 times its all-time high like Bitcoin did in the last cycle. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it, is versus all-time highs. I think the space probably ends up, in the end, closer to a $10 trillion asset class than it is $1 trillion today. So is there a 10x from the space? Possible. Is it a 5x instead? Maybe. But, I don't really think in terms of where it gets to in price. It gets to where it gets to. You just need to be in it for the ride. We know how much is held by the kind of FTX estate. So it's a known. Can you have, much like we've seen with Mt. Gox stuff in Bitcoin, will you see, occasional periods of liquidation where, of course, but there's nothing we don't know. But what we do know is there's a lot of activity on Solana. There's a lot of people building. There's some great projects. The speed of Solana is, indisputable. And then we've got Firedancer coming at the end of the year into next year, which is a complete and utter step change for blockchains. So that takes Solana's potential TPS from 65,000 to 1.2 million. Okay, that's crazy town. Yeah. So we've got an already bullish story of a blockchain that survived, right? Much like ETH survived in 2018. It was down 97%. Solana was down 97.5%. Very similar. But what's come out of the other side is a very strong community, particularly in the developer community, the applications layer and all of that stuff. And Tolly's proven to be a decent, high-quality leader and thought leader, been very reasonable, very conciliatory, not non-tribal. And I think that's appealing to people. And I see Solana as really one of the only other chains that really is looking at the mass market adoption of cryptocurrency. Different chains have different purposes, I think, or narratives, but that's Solana's. And if the Firedancer goes well, then okay, that becomes a big deal. So that's why, I'm very bullish on that.
During a conversation with Tony Edward, Powell discusses possible narratives to look out for during the next cycle. Narratives that will help push prices, determine the next direction of the industry, and make well-positioned investors hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. According to Powell, there are several things to watch out for during the next cycle, including payments, central bank digital currencies, and tokenized money market funds. Outside of finance-related developments, Powell believes there will be further applications of non-fungible tokens in ticketing, insurance contracts, real estate, and a host of other sectors. The former Goldman Sachs executive also believes we're going to see more attention on decentralized finance, especially with the mass influx of institutions and hundreds of billions of venture capital investments. Existing narratives will go broader with more use cases, and there will be several breakout narratives, all merging into a frenzied rush for crypto assets and projects, just like we had in past bull markets. Plus, everything will be further magnified when the Fed starts printing again. During the interview, Powell also talks about global adoption and the obvious shift of the mantle from the West toward the East. Instead of a complete shift, Powell believes we are looking at the beginning of a bipolar world. Here are more clips from the interview.
If everyone sees $1 trillion market and the US is fumbling the ball, they'll take it. And it's a truly international market. This is the only market outside of foreign exchange where it's the same product everywhere in the world trades for every single person. Now, foreign exchange is actually pretty difficult if you're in India or you're in the Philippines or you're in Brazil to get hold of dollars. But crypto is, Bitcoin is a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. It's the same everywhere in the world and everyone's got access to it. So everybody understands how big this is and how big blockchain technology is. So you've got the first mover advantage. There's a competitive war going on about capturing this market. I think China closed, but then what it did is issue its CBDC. It kind of understood where all of its money was because it's got a closed capital account and it needs to see where its money goes. And then it kind of reopens it via Hong Kong for international business, and they can monitor their pipes. I think India will do the same because India's got a partially closed capital account. So I think they're going to, they're implementing the CBDC and other stuff right now to make sure that they know the money in their system so then they can measure capital flight and that kind of stuff. They're all working on moving towards this. I think everybody understands, I spent some time with Supnendu Mahanti from the Monetary Authority of Singapore, who's the chief fintech officer. He's like, look, we're all working together. The Europeans, the Singaporeans, the Swiss, the UK, everybody. It's only the US is not working with everybody. So everybody's kind of working together under the BIS, but the Americans aren't.
Is there a shift now of prosperity and wealth, innovation almost going to the east away from the West in the United States?
Well, they seem to be faster right now, that's for sure. Although the Europeans were reasonably fast considering. So, and the Swiss were fast. But I do think it's a broadly split polarity world. It's a Binance versus Coinbase world, right? And I think both sovereign states have a vested interest in both of those two because they get to control the asset class. Now, Binance is a lot bigger because it deals in a lot more territories. And so if theoretically China has some involvement in Binance in the same way that the US can tap the shoulder of Coinbase, then the Chinese understand global capital flows in a way that they couldn't do before, which is it's a superpower. And the US will probably do the same. So I do think it is bifurcating into these two different worlds. And Asia has been faster to move overall. Does it remain that way? Because don't forget, the real capital base is the United States still.
Raoul Pal is not the only one who is excited about the next crypto and liquidity cycle. Binance founder CZ has also recently spoken about the Bitcoin halving and how it will influence prices next year. According to the Chinese-born Canadian businessman and investor, Bitcoin will not double overnight after the halving, and it might even take months before we begin to see significant differences. But it's possible that the leading crypto asset smashes its current all-time high and puts in a new one before the end of 2024. CZ is especially excited about 2025, the year following a Bitcoin halving, which historically has been great for Bitcoin and the overall cryptocurrency industry. What are your thoughts on Raoul Pal and CZ's outlook for the next bull cycle? Do you agree that Bitcoin is going to put in a new all-time high after the halving, or do you think macro conditions will remain gloomy and dampen the excitement? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, be sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.